Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Hobby Hammer podcast. That is Lloyd,
And that is Ben.
and in this episode, we're going to be talking about a couple of different things because we've had a 2 week break,
We did.
which
We had a
was
rest.
nice. It was nice to take a
Yeah.
break. Hopefully, you missed us as much as we missed each other because
Yeah, very busy.
I mean, I did. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to speak.
I miss everyone all the time. I mean, I'm just happy to be anywhere.
Good.
And I was very fortunate. One of the reason we did take that little bit of a break was because I went up to UK Games Expo in Birmingham, which was a lovely time. I spent some time painting on the Artist Opus booth as well. So thank you to Byron for indulging me and letting me hang out for a couple of hours. And I met lots of, hopefully, you lovely listeners up there as well. And if you weren't a lovely listener, you will be now because I told you all about us. So that's why we kind of had that week break. But now we are back, and we are ready to dive in to the latest episode. And we're going to do the usual. We're going to do the rumor engine. We're going to look at the releases, and then we're going to talk a little bit about content creation. We're going to talk a little bit about why we got into content creation, and also some of the challenges perhaps we find with content creation. It's fair to say.
I'm going to get in that as well. So
Yeah, but we're gonna keep it positive because we do recognize we're in a very privileged position in getting to do what we do, and we're in that position because you guys are listeners. So thank you so much for listening. I am going to plug. We are aiming for 500 subscribers. That's our first, but we are so close, guys. Like when we hit record, and we're recording on a Monday. We normally record on a Friday. We're recording on a Monday this time. When we hit record, we are on how many, Benjamin?
I am just getting Benjamin. I'm very formal.
What?
490. 490.
90s. 10. So you never know. By the time you listen to this, we may have hit that 500 subscriber goal, but don't let that stop you because once we hit 500, we're going to 1,000. I was going to say to the moon, but we'll go to 1,000 first. We'll get there slowly. We'll build it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So
We'll get there.
let's have a little look and dive in there at the rumor engine. So we've got 2 weeks worth of rumor engines to look at. So Ben, what's the first one?
So I've got this one. It starts with the shimmering void beyond our holding pen has briefly dissipated for another week. And I'd say it looks like a shield-ish thing. It's kind of Necron-ish looking, but it also
Necro was my immediate thought.
yeah, but also has the same. I mean, I've been painting some models that I can't talk about, but in fact, actually, I can. The battle leader, his shield,
Well, yes.
very much has similar looking power nodes.
This will battle leader.
Yeah, but by the way, I love him. It's the little like
The power nodes.
sponges. Yeah, those things are throwing me off. So
Yeah.
I think a shield of some form, the inside of it, but I
I
don't know.
think it's a shield. They do look like power nodes that you kind of get on like the Space Marine backs of power Space Marine shields. And if you think about what the power nodes on the back of the Blade Guard shields, for example. But the shape does throw me a little bit. And the
Chronic.
shape to me does feel a little bit Necron.
Yeah.
Now I have seen other rumors that this is the new Assault Terminator shield, potentially,
But yeah,
which could be very interesting. I'm not sure how the shape fits for me. I'm happy to be proved wrong because, again, most Space Marines, I'm a happy boy. But for me, yeah, it feels a bit more Necron-y than it does Space Marine.
you know what? I'm gonna do what you usually do and just double down. I think this is a shield, and I think this is more of a triangular shaped shield
Yeah,
than the circular one that we had with the Space Wolves.
yeah,
You just look at the design, that does not, again, the photo is a bit of a weird angle, but you can see from that image that does look quite triangular. It does look like it comes down to a point. Again, they could have taken it from a slightly different
yeah.
angle. I think that I'm going to go and say that that's like a triangular shape or yeah, shaped shield. And the Assault
Yeah,
Terminator.
I think it's a shield.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's Assault Terminators or if it is Necron. It just feels a little bit small.
Yeah.
Looking at it, I know this sounds ridiculous because it's like but it's just when you look at the power nodes, you can kind of scale off the power nodes a little bit. It just feels a little bit small.
Yeah.
Like if it was an angle like that at the bottom, and then it was a massive slab,
Yeah.
I'd go with it. But I don't know. But I cannot wait to find out anyway because it's exciting nonetheless.
It is indeed. Okay, on to the next one. So this is from June 3rd. Look how American I am. This is this whoa. So it says it could be a rib cage or some claws. Now I what do you reckon? That's a strange shape. I don't know about claws.
I think it's rib cage, if I'm honest. I think it's a rib cage. I
Mm,
think that's a rock that it's resting against. I think it's going to be the base of something for Age of Sigmar. It could well be corn related,
yeah, yeah.
and that's a segue into the next thing we're going to talk about. Bit premature, I know, but it could
Um,
be something like, but I feel it's like if that was on something like Usheran's base, it wouldn't look out of place. So I think it's probably something um, along those lines. It could be terrain or something. I don't know, but I think that's a rib cage. I think that's a rock.
yeah, I'm leaning more towards bone than claws because it just doesn't have the sharp point of a claw.
No.
They look quite dull. Now you can see there's like a little bit of a. It looks like the bottom of it. It looks like there's been like a scrape on the
Mhm.
rock, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm leaning more towards bone than claw. Just doesn't have the sharpness, and they can achieve that sharpness. Not like they haven't got the skills or the technology to make a sharp looking claw.
Oh, I've stabbed myself on many a sharp piece.
Yeah, yeah. Another reason why I don't like chaos. So leading perfectly into this
Get your
next.
dings in, folks.
Yeah. So this was literally this came out today of the time.
Yes, this is hot off the press.
Oh,
They're
wow.
called Deathbringer.
Yeah. Okay. What's your initial thoughts on this dude?
He's pretty cool. Um,
Those?
Significantly less trim than your average corn chap, obviously, apart from
Shield.
his shield. I think it's a nice model. I think it's going to be I imagine, a very simple model to build.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but it strikes me as the kind of model that you might see in painting competitions.
I was
Because it's very simple, but it's an opportunity. Like, you've got lots of different shapes, an opportunity to show your painting skill a little bit.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some of this in a wider style scene. I like his back as well. I like his little cloak, his cape that he's got on there. He's obviously very hench and very butch, but yeah, it's okay. I mean, it doesn't do it for me, but I think he's a cool model. I'd paint it. I'd probably enjoy painting it.
same. No, I'm in the same boat. There's something, we've talked about the dynamic posing of a lot of models, and some of them just the sculpting and the way they're standing, the weight they're shifting, just that there's something about that. And but then they're also on the other side, there's something beautiful about the
Yeah,
simplicity, sorry, of this model. He's just looks like he's standing there ready for someone to make the mistake of challenging him. I also love the mask. The mask is haunting looking.
yeah,
The shield being also again very coordinate in the fact that it's a shield, but it's also got a spiky bit at the end or two spiky bits at the end. Yeah, very very coordinate. It's I think I said not particularly my thing. If someone gave me it to paint, I'd be like, yeah, cool. This looks like something
yeah.
I would
Do you know what shield reminds me of?
enjoy.
Is the Uruk-hai shields in Lord of the Rings. You know when Aragorn is fighting Lurtz at Amon Hen, when he gets the shield and he gets it stuck there and he can swing his axe across or swings his sword. I think that's the kind of thing they've gone for there. So he pins them down with the shield and the axe comes down the shield to lop the head off. I think that's what that is.
Lord of the Rings mention already off to a great start. That's always
Yes.
Lord
I
of the
think they may have taken inspiration from that.
Yeah, and God, just skip the One Ring. It's just those
There
like
it is, everyone. We found it.
they're like, is that the One Ring? And I was like, no,
No.
it's my ring. And then with that, we're also getting the Blades-Corn Battle Tome.
Yes.
Very, very cool looking artwork on the front of that. And then a new Spearhead slash box to start you with, which is full of very angry doggos with
Yeah, so you've got Karanak, who's the three-headed is it Bloodhound?
Flesh Hound.
And it also includes the claws of Karanak, who were previously a Warcry warband,
Okay.
and have now been wrapped up into this spearhead. So Hounds of Corn there, if you like the good doggos.
Yeah, good bad doggos. Yeah, I mean, cool. Look, again, it's another addition to a game system Spearhead that I really enjoy. I got 2 games in actually on yesterday. Love it. I love Spearhead. I think it's a fantastic way of getting into the hobby. It's a fantastic casual version of the game.
Mm.
And I'm glad it's getting supported with different armies because the only issue I have with it is the fact that you can't change your army, you can't change your composition. It's just what you get in the box, which again, good for
Yeah.
simplicity, but variety is somewhat limiting. So the fact that they've got some more different kits in there, I like it. I like it a lot. All right.
Cool.
So that's that done. So on to the Sunday preview, which is not a huge one, but we've got the new kill team, the Typhon
We
kill
do
team,
indeed.
some Nids and some Adeptus Mechanicus. What do you think?
So yes, it's really,
That's it. So yes.
yes. I mean, I've gone on record on the channel before, and I'm not the biggest fan of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Just because I find them awkward to paint, and they're just not really my thing. I think the new Raveners are really cool for the Tyranids, and I really like the Tyranid terrain as well. I think that's awesome. I think the Tyranid terrain is going to be popular.
Yeah, yeah.
That's nice, but it is always nice because I think the Tyranids are the Raveners are all new, aren't they? But what do you get with
Hormigons.
the Hormigons? They're just a new release from Leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? So, but again, they're still new, very new models. So that's quite cool.
Yeah.
What do you think about them? You're a Nids player, so are you happy for more Raveners?
Yeah, I think the Raveners were older looking models. I think the design of them are beautiful, as always. I think, well, beautiful and grotesque at the same time. I think there's a lot of players who are going to be pretty happy with this box if they are Nids players. Again, as you said, because of the terrain is very cool looking. If you're playing a lot of Nids, having those on the board just sporadically is going to really tie in the theme of what Nids are, which are just this infestation. Cool looking Raveners. Again, yeah, you're getting the new Hormigons, which are really, really nice and very raptor-like models. An absolute nightmare to store and to move around on the board because they're just so out of their base. They just move.
Yeah.
They're like the barrel monkeys. You just kind of just go, okay, I'm moving one. 6 of them are gonna go.
Do you have to put like pennies underneath them as well, so there's a bit of weight, so they don't topple over?
I did do that. Yeah, I actually just super glued a bunch of pennies to the bottom of it just to make sure that they were stable. And just again, they're very light models, so because they are so far out, just having that little bit of weight on them, it does make a big difference. But yeah, kill team, as I said, I would love to see, and I think someone did mention this in the comments of one of our previous videos about hoping that Spearhead and kill team, they kind of match each other, because I think Spearhead is amazing. It's very simplistic, but kill team for me is just, it's in the Warhammer universe, but it's a lot of rules. And again, I know it's popular, but for me, I'd like it to be a little bit more accessible. So kill team stuff doesn't really jimmy my jangles that much, to be honest.
Yeah, I think kill teams I don't know, seems to be a bit of a strange place for me at the moment. I like the concept of kill team. I think the kill team starter set's a great set. I like the idea of just collecting like a small kill team and playing and that kind of stuff. And I think what was kind of good when kill teams started coming out was you'd have your kill teams, but then you could use them in normal games of 40k as well, and they'd be specific things. It just feels a little bit at the moment we're kind of going a little bit off the wall with the kill teams, so they're not necessarily that kind of specific faction that you can take back across to 40k. And a classic example of that is going to be the other kill teams which are on pre-order, like the Sanctifiers, and the Goalmongers. Now, don't get me wrong, I did a box preview of the Sanctifiers and Goalmongers because I was a little bit like, I don't get it, and I'm not sure why this release has come. But actually, they're really cool models. They're really characterful models, and actually, I can see, they are just fit in with the madness that is 40k.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see it from that angle, but I don't know if they've got much of a wider appeal. For me, there's going to be fans out there who absolutely adore them, and that's absolutely cool. But for me, like I said, they don't jimmy my jangles either at the moment. But I do love the concept. I do love the idea of kill team, and I thought of collecting something like a Wolf Scout kill team, that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Oh, that's all I want.
Okay, okay, you might put me back in there with that. That's I'm slowly becoming, well, not slowly, I'm very much becoming a Space Wolves fan, which I'm sure you're very happy to hear about, because the new box set, the codex, I'm learning more about them. I'm like, I'm becoming a real appreciator of the Space Wolves as a whole faction, which is, it's always cool. Whenever you can find a little corner that you thought you were never going to be interested in, when you can find something in the hobby, you're like, whatever. Because honestly, Space Wolves for me were, for the longest time, just whatever. It's just Viking Space Marines, cool.
Yeah, it's kind of, Viking Space Marines with that North mythology. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the Space Wolves. Currently trying to do a box to board challenge with them. It's going okay. We're kind of trying to get it done in 24 hours. Hopefully that video will be out at some point this week. It'll be after this podcast. But yeah, hopefully get that done but I'm enjoying them. I'm looking forward to the other characters when they get released as well.
Mhm.
And I'm also looking forward to maybe just trying to spruce up or spiff up some of the kind of generic Space Marines to be a bit more Space Wolfy as well. Of course, you get lots of spare parts, which is great.
Yeah, I think just as a moment, like the head sculpts, amazing, absolutely amazing. In fact, this is my kind of claim to fame as such. I was chatting to Darren Latham, and I can say that I'm like, it's so cool. I can be like, yeah, I'm just chatting to one of the lead designers at Games Workshop, whatever. There's like very few people in my life that I can brag about that to. You being one of them, but I'm pretty sure you know him as well.
Everyone listening to this podcast now as
well. And he went, oh, mate, could you take a photo of the back of the box for me? And I was like, yeah, cool. Took a photo of it, and then he posted it on his Instagram. It was like he was part of the design team, and I was like, I took that photo. That's with me. I was sitting in my living room. So I was like,
I genuinely thought the next words out of your mouth are going to be, can you take a photo of your face from the front and the side, please? And then it's got to the Space Wolf head to that.
My beard's just not quite there. Not quite there. I need an extra foot or two.
An extra foot or two. Well, we could digital sculpting. We could give you those. That's not a problem.
Get some bangs. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that was cool. And yeah, the head sculpts in those guys are absolutely stunning. All right. Again, some orders. We got the Horus Heresy. Again, that's not something that Lloyd and I haven't been too into, but I did see the cinematic, and the cinematic was...
Yes, it does. Perhaps it's just me, but obviously the new Horus Heresy box Saturnine is on the horizon. The reveal stream was amazing. The Saturnine Dreadnought, I think, looks fantastic. Is it the Fellblade, the massive plastic tank?
Yeah.
Big fan. Can't wait for that. But I just find it odd that they've got that on the horizon, but they've released the kind of, they're going to put the transfers and stuff up for pre-order now, and the heavy bolters and the laser destroyer and stuff. But that's just me. I'm not a businessman, clearly. But yes, they are there. They are quite cool looking models actually, and I quite like the. If you didn't want those particular weapons, they're quite good for some sort of spare part.
True. Yeah, they would look really good on just a battlefield, just having there as like a sentry, a thing there.
Yeah, exactly.
I said the cinematic. I've watched that 3 or 4. There's one thing the Games Workshop does very well, and that's cinematics. Seeing Constantine Baldor and Malcador in chat. Oh, it's like, what do you think? I'm just a spear. I don't get a decision. I don't get thoughts. I just loved it. So cool seeing those things that you've had in your head for so long. Even just hearing Malcador's voice. Oh, so cool. So, all right.
There's definitely going to be an animated series of that in the future, isn't there?
So I really hope so. As I said, we talked about that in the other episode. One of the ones we talked about Henry Cavill's 40K universe. If you haven't seen that yet or listened to that, go and check it out. We talk about.
Yeah, it's live.
Yeah, so yeah, give that a listen. All right, what else we got? We've got some old world. We've got the Beastmen Bray herds made to order. Again, some old looking models, but
some of the older sculpts. There'll be metal ones as well. So
yeah, cool.
That's it.
Fine. Yep. And then that's it. And then there's some books.
Yeah.
That's about it. All right. So the main topic that we're going to be talking about today is our path to becoming content creators or YouTubers, whatever you want to call it. Now, Lloyd, I actually don't know the story of how you got into making YouTube videos. I followed you for a long time. A long time. So
that's who that was.
That's good. He's a bit of bushes.
Just a pair of eyes looking at me constantly.
What you gonna paint next? What am I gonna try and paint next, Lloyd? What are we gonna do? How are you gonna make this easier for me? How long have you been making content on YouTube?
I don't actually know. I do know. It will be, or it's just been actually 6 years since I put my first video. So my first video was how to paint Plague Marines.
Oh.
And this was a while ago, and it was a 2-parter, and it was quite good. To the model turned out really nice actually. It's quite a good video. I didn't really have much of a clue of what I was doing. Mm-hmm. So in terms of how I got involved in content creation, you need to go way back to I don't even know how far back you'd have to go. In my head, I want to say 2013, maybe even, I don't know. I recorded a video, how to paint BL Town Eldar, because I thought that I could teach people how to paint. Mm-hmm. Because I used to do a lot of commission painting. I used to do a lot of painting. I used to win competitions in my local Games Workshop, those kinds of things. So I thought I could do that sort of thing. And I remember doing it I borrowed my parents' video camera. So this is how long ago it was, on a tripod between my legs. And I was trying to paint kind of like this. And I did the Bieltan Elder one, and that's still on YouTube. However many years ago it was that I did that. And then my second video, I decided to do Minotaurs, Space Marines. So I started filming it, filmed it, went to do the footage, and it was all blurry, it was all out of focus. And I was like, and I just stopped.
Yep.
So it's always been something I've kind of wanted to do. I teach in my job as well, so I work in human resources, but I work in kind of learning development. And a lot of that is training. I do a lot of management development, a lot of management training. So I'm used to kind of trying to share ideas and explain ideas and doing that kind of stuff. But I've always had Warhammer's always been a constant, so it's been a constant in my life now for about 20 years at least. It was on and off before that, but it's been a constant for 20 years. And I always thought I could help people and show people how to paint. So, and it just got to that, and I can't even remember what my motivation was at the time when I actually started. It was just like, I think I can do it, so I did. And it was probably around the time when the Games Workshop channels had Warhammer TV, I should say. So they had Duncan on there, later Peachy and things like that. And I thought, I can do this kind of thing. I can do it slightly differently, in terms of the paints, the colours, and stuff that I use, and that would be really good. So yeah, I just picked up my phone and started filming, really. So my early kind of video, well, all my videos actually are all done and filmed on a mobile phone. And my early videos were more conversational style, so just kind of chatted through what I was doing, why I was doing it, what my ideas were. And that's it, kind of grew from there, really. Luckily, the reception was good. The channel grew. Some videos do really well, and some videos don't do very well at all. I mean, what I will say, back at the start, it was a very expensive hobby to be doing, because we're going out buying all these models and stuff to paint all the new releases and things like that. So I'm very grateful that I'm now on the kind of the creator program. So we get some preview copies, which is great. It's amazing. It's a huge privilege. It always makes me chuckle when people put on a video, "I wish I got sent stuff for free." Well, create some content, create some value. Do you know what I mean? Create content and value. It doesn't have to be videos. It can be posts, whatever it could be. You can do that. This isn't something that has happened to me overnight. This is something that's taken me, probably 5 years before I was on the creative program. So, it does make it easier. So yeah, so that was kind of it. I mean, in terms of my motivations and things like that, it was first and foremost, it was sharing what I thought were my skills and my knowledge, and hopefully that would help people. And then it kind of grows into something where I think, well, is this something I want to do full time? Could I do it full time? And ultimately that would be my goal, is to do this full time. I'm not there yet, but I will be one day. So that's kind of how I kind of got started into the whole content creation side of things, I guess. So how about you, Ben? What did you do?
So I grew up wanting to be a director. I wanted to be a film director. And then I got into the movie making industry. But so for people who don't know, I don't think I've talked about it at all so far, but I have cystic fibrosis. Very quickly realizing that working as long as I did on those film sets, in fact, I worked on the first season of Game of Thrones, which always is like, oh, wow, that's so cool. But it was the first season. No one knew anything. All I knew was Sean Bean was in it, and I was meeting Boromir and got to work with Boromir, Sean Bean. That was cool. Again, the only reason it's cool is for those stories. It was a long, hard, very difficult job to work, and my health was suffering quite a bit because of that. So my passion for making films has always been there, and creating stuff. I just love creating things. I then transitioned into coaching, and I've been coaching now for 14 years. This is my 14th year of coaching. So again, like yourself, used to teaching people, used to kind of holding their hands through processes, and I thought, I've been talking about making YouTube videos, and I dabbled in making fitness ones for a while, but I was just like, there's so many fitness people out there. I do the same thing over and over again. It's not that interesting. I don't really feel like I have much to give in this space, but I knew I wanted to do something in terms of creation, and Warhammer was one of those things I talked about for so long. And then one day I was like, right, I'm going to stop talking about this. I'm going to stop telling people I'm going to do this thing, because I found out that telling people your ideas gives you the same endorphin release as actually achieving them. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to fall into that trap. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this thing. Then I'll tell people. So once I've started, then I'm going to tell, yeah, I've actually made a video. I'm not thinking about it. I've made it. And my first video was, I think it was we just passed 2 years. actually the other day. My initial concept was to go and become a tournament player and become the best player in the world. Again, lofty goals, lofty ambitions. That very quickly changed to being just a video, just channel, just being more of a hobby channel. I'm not the best painter. I'm not the best player. I mean, I've lost nearly every game I've played. In fact, I have lost every game I've played in a tournament scene. And again, that's just not where my passions were. And I think the most important thing, if you're going to start anything, is follow your passion. And that sounds like a really cheesy thing to say, but it's true. Like, is your passion always going to be the thing that gets you up and goes, yeah? Definitely not. I've experienced a lot of days where I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I spending so much time doing this thing that I don't think people care about? I really don't. And that's the feeling you get when you start anything, is that no one cares. And that's the truth. No one does care. But if you care, then at least you can be like, cool, I did that thing. That's the thing I did. I'm proud of it. So yeah, the channel's just evolved from there of just, I always want to try and be a little bit better. And I took all the skills that I've had and I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I watched a lot of yours, obviously. I'm like, right, what can I add to this space? And a lot of people ask me, how'd you get under the creator program? My path is very different. Like a lot of things in my life, it's been very, very different. It's not a kind of just like, oh, I had this email that I found, and I went to the Games Expo in 2023, I believe, with the sole purpose of meeting someone from Games Workshop that I could speak to and say, look, can I get on this IA program? Like, this is an idea for my channel. I want to be the gateway to people to enjoy this hobby. Is there anything you can help me with? That's what I did. And I went over and I found the guy I needed to speak to. I spoke to him. We went out for dinner. Actually, I went with a group of people and we ended up having food together. And I was like, no, this is my idea. What is there anything you can help me with? And he was like, yeah, that actually sounds like something we can help you with.
Yeah.
But like you said, this isn't just land in our laps. People are like, oh, I'm so jealous of you getting free stuff. I'm just like, it's not free. When you actually look at it, it's not free at all. We're spending a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort on top of the things we already have to do in our normal lives. So these things are not free. It's a bartering system. Like, we are offering them, hey, we're going to make this content that hopefully will help sell this product or get people interested in it. It's benefiting me. It's benefiting you. It's very much a mutual partnership. But yeah, again, people only see we're getting free stuff. It's like, it's not really free at all. Free would just be like, here, give this thing and no expectations. There's not, so yeah, now we're 2 years into it. And so this is the fun story. This is all about progress over perfection. If you watch I can't believe I'm saying this, but if you watch my first box to board challenge with the Cities of Sigmar, that video was the video that told me, okay, I want to do this. The concept for that just came to me. I was like I was going to do like a 24-hour challenge. Can I get this box done in 24 hours? I was like, first of all, I'm not staying up for 24 hours.
Yes.
I'm not ruining the rest of my week for making, and also just all the crap things that would come with that, of terrible presenting skills, because I'd be so tired. I would resent the box. I was like, no, what I'm going to do is just start a timer. I'll stop it when I stop building or when I stop painting. And when I sit down, I'll start.
Wise moves.
Yeah.
Wise moves.
Exactly. And I did that. And we were going on holiday. I think we went on holiday the week before I was trying to get it released. So I was editing it on the plane. I was doing all this work. That was the first problem. The first problem was I was editing on the plane. I had my AirPods connected so I could just zone out. And I think Janice opened the laptop. The iPad.
I remember this.
Yeah, it jumped over to the iPad. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll reset this all. Basically, long story short, I could not get and still have not been able to connect those iPods to anything I own. I think I just did forget everything, and it just literally went, okay, forget everything. They are just useless. They are completely non-functional now. That was problem number one. So I spent all this time, and I was like, okay, well, cool. I'll not be able to edit on the plane anymore. Fine. I've got a good chunk of it done. And again, it was my first video that I was making, so trying to get the flow of things, knowing what to edit, blah, blah, blah. Got on holiday. I was like, right, I'll chip away at it. Finally finished the thing. Finally. Went to export it. And it just kept saying, we're still referencing images from the camera. And I was like, okay, well, I've got the memory card. Fine, plug it in. I'll just take that clip that it's trying to reference. I'll find it first, and then I'll fix it. That didn't fix it. And at that point, I was like, I literally just lay in the bed, and I was like, what is going on? Why? What is happening? What Why technology? Why are you doing this to me? So, my the solution to this problem was I could watch it back on the Play Finder
Mm.
perfectly, worked perfectly. As soon as I tried to export it, no go. So I screen recorded my Play Finder. I literally blew it up to full size, hit play, and then screen recorded. So you will notice in that first Cities of Sigmar box to board challenge, the audio quality is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Now, the other issue,
Check it out, folks. Check it out.
please go and check it out. The other issue is the fact that when you're playing things back on QuickTime, you have that option to see the play button and then to rewind, and you get that little bar at the bottom.
Mm.
I'm not going to get rid of that. So I literally went into Canva, cut out a subscribe button and blew it up and just laid it over the top so people couldn't see it. But I didn't do that at the end of the video. So if you watch all the way to the end of that Cities of Sigmar video, you'll see the little play, rewind, all those buttons popping up right at the end. So there's a little insight into progress over perfection. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get this out. We'll see how it does. And then that was the video that really took off and gave me faith in the fact that I was doing the right thing and I was
Yeah.
in the process, sorry. But
Well, I'm glad after all the stress you went through that it taught you were on the right path.
yeah. And that happened with nearly every video, by the way. That was not a one and done. Every video up until the last couple where, again, I'm learning from my mistakes. Either when you learn, there was something went wrong. Audio didn't work, or the camera erred, or I would shoot something and be completely out of focus. And the point is that you're going to get all those teething problems. Just push through them. Like, if anything, I think people appreciate the little errors and the little, like, slip ups, because I think videos are.
Yeah, it has a more human element, I think, to.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been very fortunate, I guess, in that, and this is why I still film everything on my phone, because I know how it works.
Mhm.
I know how it works. I know how the lighting works. I know I did have a little bit of an issue with a couple of videos and exposure when I got a new phone, which I managed to figure out and fix. But I've been very fortunate, and I'm not a tech head. When it comes to editing and things like that, I edit in Premiere Pro. I probably use about 1% of what it can do, but I always film my videos very sequentially, so that when it came to editing, you just dump them into the edit track, trim the end, trim the start, and you're away to go, kind of thing. So touch wood, I've not actually had any major kind of issues other than some challenges with a little bit of focus here or there. The exposure setting issue that I had. So I've always kind of done it that way. I've always tried to do it as low tech as I possibly can. Yeah. And I think I've probably and again, this is perhaps something you may have noticed, perhaps you haven't noticed yet, but certainly in the painting tutorial space, which is what I do, I could do a 40-minute video where I'm talking and sharing my thoughts and things like that, and people will watch 5 or 6 minutes of it. Or I can do a 20-minute video where I'm kind of speeding through it and I do the voiceover after, and people will still watch 5 minutes of it.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know how YouTube work, watch time is really important. So your percentage watch time, the higher that is, the more likely the video is to get recommended and things like that. So I've kind of, my style has changed and evolved a little bit over time. So rather than me kind of recording whilst I'm painting, which probably would be quicker, I now paint everything, film what I'm painting, and then come back in, edit it, do a voiceover, put some sexy graphics in that says like and subscribe, like you should do to this podcast right now, if you haven't already. And then, that's kind of my edits and I export it. Sometimes I do 4K, sometimes I do 1080p, depending on what I've accidentally forgot to change the setting on.
How much of that is purposeful? Because I've done that. Somebody, I'm like, oh well.
Yeah. So if my face is in a video, it's 1080p. If I've done a sponsored ad, it's 1080p. Because I keep forgetting to change my front camera to 4K, which means that I record in 1080. So then when you go in with the 4K resolution, it's much better to downscale 4K to 1080 because you get really nice crisp images than it is to upscale 1080 to 4K, because then you just get blurriness. Yeah. It's the same thing with if you've got a 2D picture on your screen. If you resize it smaller, it'll look good. If you try and resize it larger, it'll look blurry. Sure. So kind of my style has evolved a little bit over the 6 years to kind of just get to the point where I'm at now. And it's interesting, actually. I was considering doing, so with the Space Wolves release, I did a Ragnar Blackmane painting tutorial years ago when the Ragnar was released in the box set with Ghazghkull Thraka. So I did Ragnar and Ghazghkull from that. And at the time, I bought 2 boxes. So I've still got a Ragnar model here. So I thought to myself, it'd be a really good exercise. It really might be an interesting video. Let me know in the comments if you think this is interesting, or I'm just like, I don't know, buffing my own ego a little bit. But it's to do a has YouTube made me a better painter kind of thing. So I'd repaint Ragnar. Now I haven't got the original Ragnar footage because I changed my computer. I lost that footage, but I've obviously got the original video, which is all still on YouTube. So I can use that as a reference point. Just see, am I a better painter? Am I a better teacher? And is the quality I'm putting out better? So that's an idea I've got for a video in the future that will actually kind of hopefully encapsulate everything I've just spoken about there.
I really like that. And I think, this is one of the things we were saying about having this podcast is that this is where we can have conversations with you guys because we're assuming that most of you guys watch our other videos. So this is a nice little testing ground to see what you guys want to see from other channels as well, which is kind of cool. Yeah, has there ever been a point where you've wanted to quit? 6 years?
No.
That's good.
There's not been a point where I wanted to quit over the 6 years. So one of my big things when I started the channel was, and I watched lots of different YouTube channels, and I watched some, and I've told him this, if you watch strategy YouTubers, like someone like Lionheart X10, I watched him for years and years, and I thought, I really like his style, and I like how, and I think I can do that, and have that style. He was a big inspiration for me. I think he's got like 600,000 subs and stuff like that. But I wanted that silver play button. I was driven by getting that silver play button. I was boom, boom, boom. That I'm doing it for that. I'm doing it for that. Doing it for that. So I was very much on mission for how long? To 5 years, I think it took me. I got it last.
I remember we were chatting about it, like waiting for it to just go over.
Yeah, it was last August. I think I hit it, and I was chuffed, but I was a little bit peeved that I hit it a month too late when they made them smaller. Because I wanted my A4 one.
Yeah.
But actually, I think it was easy when I had that target, and I probably need to think a little bit more, just from again, we'll get bored, but a strategy point of view on the channel about the direction it's going, because I found it a lot more challenging since I hit that. In terms of some of the motivation sometimes. That's really something that's knocked me a little bit. The other thing that's really knocked me recently, which I don't really understand, is when I first started the channel, I would be queuing outside a Games Workshop on a Saturday for the release. I'd be buying the release, I'd get home, I'd build it, paint it, film it, I'd have a video up the Sunday. Now I'm struggling to get videos on the Sunday, I'm getting weeks in advance. So I thought that I'd be much better prepared, but I'm finding it more difficult. So I think there's something's off from a balance point of view, somewhere. But that's fine. I'm not complaining in any shape or form. It's one of those things where I'm a very introspective person sometimes when it comes to things like that, and I'm a thinker, I'm a reflector in terms of how I look at stuff, and I'm very analytical. I know myself very well, because I'm 41 and I've been doing it for a long time in terms of having these conversations and understanding. He says knocking something over. How my brain works.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those processes I'm going through at the moment, and I had a little bit of so obviously, in fact, the first podcast episode we did, I had just got back from Adepticon, and I think Adepticon was probably one of those self-actualizing moments for me, where it's like, oh, I am making a difference. We're 6 years in at this point, so so it's not like early doors in the journey, but you've got people coming up to you, shaking your hand, people coming up to you saying, "Oh, thank you so much! Like, I love your tutorials, I love your videos, sign my palette," these kinds of things. And the best thing that happened to me in that whole event was a guy came up to me in the corridor, stopped me, and said, "Oh, I've got this for you. Give me an envelope," and walked off. And I was literally about to go and teach a class, so I opened it, and it was a card. And it was not an appropriate card. It was like a sympathy card. I was like, God, what is this? But it wasn't that kind of thing. It must have just been the card he had. And if you're watching this podcast, I am extremely grateful for you, because every time I find it hard, I kind of go back to your card, which basically said that he loved my content, and that my content was the reason that he was sober, and that whenever he felt like he was going to fall off the wagon, he put one of my videos on, and that just kind of calmed him, and he just enjoyed watching it and that kind of stuff. So that's having an impact wider than just teaching people how to paint. And I suppose that's one of those things that I've always, I don't know, I'm not even sure I was looking for it, but it was always obviously one of those things that was just like, wow, that is amazing to think that I'm having that impact on someone. And it's not even somebody who lives next door to me. It's somebody in the US,
I'll sell them.
thousands, about 100, I don't know how many miles away it is, but miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles away. So yeah, so I've never wanted to quit. I have found it difficult, but I'm fortunate I'm in a place where if I ever struggle, I just pull that card up and I look at it and I'm gonna run through a wall. So do you know what I mean? So it's like it's just one of those things. And the other thing that I found really useful as well is when I first started off with content creation, it was just me on my own. And that's kind of how I've always been a little bit when it comes to this sort of thing, but also opening myself up to, this, you and I kind of met through your coaching more than anything, my Warhammer, your coaching, and then we decided to do a few things together, and then we did this together. But also open myself up to the wider community in terms of going out and meeting people, saying hello to people, and just see, like I said, even being at UK Games Expo and kind of meeting people you've kind of only met on Instagram and those kinds of things. Again, to spend time with the Artist Opus guys and with the Element Games guys. Andy Wardle, Cult to Paint, one of the best painters in the world, sitting there just watching him tap in, doing some weathering on an Imperial Fist Terminator. So that's really brilliant. I certainly feel more part of a community now than I ever did, like when I first started doing videos.
Yeah, I think that's by the way, that the fact that guy gave you that card, that's insane. That's something I don't think you could ever. I don't think if you put that on I would like to achieve this. That's not something you could ever.
It's not something you'd think about, is it? It's not. It's not what we'd ever have. No. You might want to have impact, or impact people positively, but you'd never have something which is like that, which is just like
that's mind blowing. And again, it's nice to hear that as well, because I think people do. Again, I'm a coach out there. I'm used to this stuff of people thinking like it's all about motivations and motivation. It's like motivation's not a huge part of what we do. I think about how many times I'm motivated to sit down and paint, edit a video, and it's not that much, but I also understand that what I'm going to get out of it. And I've said this so many times to people. My sense of satisfaction as soon as I hit export on a big video, I'm like, yeah, there we go.
Bang.
I've done it. I did that for me. No one's sitting here watching me edit. No one's sitting beside me and conceptualizing things. This is my hard work. Anything else after that is just sprinkles on the cake. Like, it really is. And the fact that I'm getting the response that I'm getting is ridiculous. Like, to me, it's ridiculous. The fact that there's this many people watching my videos, watching these. Yeah. Again, this is amazing. By the way, just to kind of help us get this out a little bit more, if you've watched any of the previous episodes and you haven't liked the videos, please just go back and just hit like on those videos, because it does make a big, big difference. But yeah, for me, the gratifying feeling is just doing the hard thing. Because I'm not going to lie, these videos are tough. Now, I'm learning as I'm going along. And in fact, that Space Wolves video, that Box the Board challenge, which is doing so well. I'm so happy. I'm so happy it did so well, because I worked so much on that. And I'm really proud of the result of it as well. I think I just enjoyed painting that thing.
Yeah.
But the pressure I put on myself to get it done was a lot. And as you were saying, you were saying you would just go out that weekend, you get the model, you get it done, you'd have it out by Sunday. I think there's a lot to be said about putting that pressure on yourself. Whereas I think now that you're on the creator program, there's that sense of like, well, I've got this in a couple of weeks in advance, because I do this every single time. I'm like, I've got weeks to get this video ready.
Yeah.
Every Friday, the day before the NDA is finished, and we can post. But I am like lit up until 1 o'clock in the morning editing furiously, and I'm like,
why do I
do it? And like every time.
Yeah.
So, but this process,
I think I was just going to say what you said there about putting that pressure on yourself. I think as well, it's important to acknowledge as human beings that we are not like, we're like a light bulb. If you leave it on constantly, it's eventually gonna pop. Yeah. And I think that's an important thing as a content creator to be really conscious of and really mindful of. Because I think that's when it gets hard. That's when it gets hard and it gets difficult. It's because you put too much stress on yourself. You put too much pressure on yourself. Sometimes for me, it might be a model I'm like, I'm not a massive, huge fan. Like for Fulgrim, for example. Yeah. I was really excited to paint Fulgrim. I hated painting Fulgrim. Loved the result of painting Fulgrim. Like I'm really, really chuffed with how Fulgrim came out.
Yeah.
Vordry, another one. After Fulgrim, I was like, oh my God. Really excited to do it. Really, really, well, I was saying to you, I absolutely hated painting him. But actually, the result, I'm really chuffed with the result. And even saying that, there's another model which I can't talk about. It might be on Warhammer Community at some point in the future, but even that, it was really weird. Like, I really, really detested building it, but I had the best time painting it. I absolutely adored painting it. I'm really chuffed with the result of it as well. So it is a funny old hobby sometimes, isn't it?
It is. It's unlike any other hobby. Again, it's not like many hobbies in the fact that it takes significant effort to engage with it. I've said this so many times, and I'm very lucky in my coaching that I work with a lot of people who are into Warhammer, and I always say that, like, this is a hard hobby to do. Like, it's not just you sit down on the sofa, you press a button, and then you're engaging in your hobby. You have to sit down, you have to have an area prepared, you have to have your clippers, you have to have your glue, you have to have your knives, you have to, all that stuff. You're physically engaged. You can't really switch off your brain as much as we say when we're painting stuff, we switch off your brain. Your brain's not switched off entirely.
No.
You have to be switched on. You have to understand the process. And obviously that gets better as you engage more in it. But at the end of the day, it takes significant effort being spent to get into it.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
Difficult. That's why it's difficult. But it is difficult. And this is not complaining in any way, shape, or form, because, as you said, we are privileged to be in the position we're in. We've worked hard for it to get this. But at the same time, we have to, oh no, the most difficult thing is painting a beautiful model that we're not super into. Do you know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
You've got to take.
Don't get me wrong, I was very much into full grip. It was just
No, I remember how much you were saying it was a difficult model to just.
difficult. It was a challenge to paint, but I'm a better painter for having done it. And you learn things on, like you said earlier, you either win or you learn. Yeah. So it is. It is interesting. I suppose the good thing about the hobby is, yes, it takes effort to get involved in it, but there's so many different ways you can get involved in it.
Exactly.
Whether you're just reading books, you're reading about law, you're watching YouTube videos, you're painting, you're collecting, you're gaming. So there's so many different angles that you kind of get involved in the hobby from, which is I think is really good and really cool. There's so many different entry points. I think Games Workshop are doing really a good job in terms of looking at those entry points for things like Spearhead, Kill Team, Combat Patrol, etc. They're looking at, like, how do we what is the gateway drug to the plastic crack addiction? Yeah. But I think so I think it is particularly interesting. I mean, have you done anything? Have you changed your style? I know you changed the style you did the Space Force video.
Yeah,
is that something that you're going to continue with, or is that something that
Yeah,
just see how it is?
Yeah, so I was a brave boy and I tried streaking grime for the first time. And oh my God, I love it. I love it. Because, as I said in the video, different strokes for different folks. Some people hate it, some people love it. I love it. And I'm going to do what I like because this is my hobby. You can come in and be like, I don't like it. Cool, buddy. Good. Thanks for the opinion. Thanks for the comment. This is my hobby. This is what I do. As soon as you start losing your passion for it and your enjoyment of it, that people can see that. It comes across. When people are passionate about something, it's very hard to hide passion when you're passionate about something. And that's what I always want to try and maintain. This streaking grime has, I was like, oh, this has unlocked so many things for me. Like, oh, I'm not looking at my votes. I'm looking at different models and being like, I would love to see what that would look like.
It's streaking grime for everyone.
It was when Push for Time reached for the ground. That was the phrase that came because I was pushed. That was I made that video in a week. I got that entire box done in a week in video and edited as well, which again I was so happy with. But yeah, as you said earlier, like the pressure you put on yourself, be careful with it because you don't want to burn out. But that was the right type of pressure. I think it was the right type of pressure for me to get that done because I knew how big the box is going to be. I knew how many people were excited about it so well. So I was like, it's going to be a lot of work. I think I was trusting in the fact that it was going to pay off, and my word, it paid off. Like that's the best performing video I've made, other than the one we made together. It's the best performing video I've made so far, and it taught me a process. So a bit of an inside look at this. I used to just film everything. I film everything, and then at the end of the day, when I finished and painted everything, I would then have 20 plus hours of footage. You're probably thinking, how do you have 20 hours of footage? Time lapses. Sometimes to just stop hitting record, and then I'll just have like 10 minutes of me just doing one simple thing. This time around, I was like, I can't do that. I cannot have this big back end, backload at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot sequences. I'm going to do a little bit of planning. Was it an ounce of preparation is a pound of cure? Something along those lines.
Something like that.
And it helped so much because I was like, right, no, I'm going to go into each video. I'm going to have a bit of structure. So I film something, put it into the timeline of my editing, which, by the way, I use iMovie. Super simple. As you said earlier, you're just sticking to something that works. iMovie works for me.
Yeah.
Until it doesn't, I'm going to stick to it. But I'd film something, put it into the edit, go, all right, don't feel like I could have said something different there, or could have phrased that differently, or my hair was crap. Something literally that bad. And I'd be like, I'd go back and do it again. And repetition, I'd just get better at it. I'd get more relaxed. I'd know what I'm saying. Put it into the timeline, edit it. Cool, that's that done. On to the next section. Cool, do that. And I just did it like that. And I enjoyed that process so much. That is by far and away my favorite box I've done to this date. And I know I say that in a lot of videos, like, oh, this is my favorite one, because they are. I actually genuinely, as I said, my kind of tick box is I got it done. So I do enjoy them. But this one was one I was like, I felt like I learned a lot about my own process with you. As I said, I would love for this to be a full-time gig, but the way I was doing it was not something I could sustain or wanted to do. This time I'm like, okay, I've actually found a potential path that I could see myself doing. But I also achieved a look on those Marines that I'm really proud of. And again, I discovered a love for models that model Marines I didn't really have much interest in. So it was a all-round great process. And the one thing I do want to talk about, and we talked about this, when we were chatting on WhatsApp, for the last couple months, obviously going back to my cystic fibrosis, I've been taking this medication that has saved my life, but it's also had a pretty significant impact on my mental health. And mental health is one of the most important aspects. It's like the cornerstone of my coaching. In my book,
Humble plug.
Casual plug. Mental health is the most
available on Amazon, link in the description.
Excellent. And we were chatting about this, and I was saying this, that Warhammer has, if you took Warhammer out of my life, I would be in a much worse place. I really do, because this gave me this thing where I would sit down, I'd be like, I'll play the PlayStation, and I literally do that thing where you scroll across and you look at games and you're like, none of this interests me. None of this interests me. I do want to go and build something. I do want to sit and paint, because I'm working on something that I know is going to pay off in the future. And yeah, I just thought it was a good time to bring that up, because it's such a therapeutic, it's not therapy, it's not going to replace therapy, but it's a very therapeutic process for me. And I'm sure a lot of other people will agree with me on that. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because it's important to me.
No, that's good. Thank you for sharing that. And obviously, I'm not. If people follow you on Instagram, you can see a reel where you talk about that in a bit more in depth. So I appreciate bringing that up, because it might help other people listening to this as well. And to be honest, when I first got into Warhammer properly, when I started painting properly 20 years ago, the whole point of that was to just relax and chill.
Yeah.
And it's also seen me through some darker times where I've been off work with stress for a period of time and things like that. So yeah, it's something that when I look at everything I've done in my life, and I've dabbled in this, dabbled in that, and that's why I say Warhammer's always been a constant, because it has always been there. And I've always gone back to it, because like you said, you can always do something. If you don't feel like painting, you can build. If you don't feel like building, you paint. Or maybe you just have a read of some lore, or you go through a codex, you look at some pictures, you might have a chat with someone, you might just watch a video. There's so many different things you can do and different ways of engaging with the hobby, which I think is really, really powerful. So long may that continue. So I think we've spoken a little bit about how, what got us into the hobby and got us into content creation. Let us know down in the comments what got you into the hobby, what inspires you when it comes to Warhammer. How has Warhammer helped you even? Are you thinking about doing content creation? Have you got any questions about content creation? And let us know down in the chat. So this was a slightly different podcast to the one that we normally do. We're not talking specifically about a Warhammer related topic, rather the content creation behind it. So I hope it was interesting for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, hit that like, hit the subscribe button. We would be very, very grateful. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.